Back again. Hello, everyone. Continuing on my series, you may have heard me speak about some of the gyms and the development of the gyms. Today's episode is about Zero Cans, the trials, tribulations, and adventures of setting up the gym up there. Gym number 5. Kind of number 5, kind of number 6. It's hard to say. It kind of got blended with Wales, so listen to that episode as well. That was an adventure in itself, opening 2 gyms at the same time. Wales and Cairns together, then continued on that with Sunshine Coast and Christchurch also happening at the same time. I really got to stop doing that. I'm about to open 2 more gyms at the same time as well. It's not a good habit. I'm sorry. I don't know who I'm saying sorry to. Anyway, I opened Zero Cairns with a wonderful couple, Wesley and Brooke Vick. So I'd known Wes and Brooke for years and years and years just in the powerlifting scene. And I started coaching Wes sometime in 2020, in July in 2020. And we were just, coaching and getting to know each other a little bit more. And I was seeing what they were doing with their brand up there. So they had a brand called the Strength Squad in Cairns. And they had a personal training studio. And they were doing really well. I spoke to them a little bit. We had some more business related chats as we developed our coaching relationship. Wes floated me some questions, and the gym idea ultimately started the same way it started with most of these gyms, which was me just making a joke. So at some point, Wesley reached out and sort of said, hey, we've got the studio and we're taking big teams to competitions. We're looking at eventually running competitions ourselves. And we see that you're doing stuff with APL out of your gym. Can you sort of point us in the right direction or give us more information? And I knew that they had this studio and they had done at that stage, I think, the deadlift comp outside of their studio. So Wes and Brooke have run an annual deadlift comp that they used to do in a park, basically in the center of Cairns, which was always really cool. And I made the joke, well, it's much easier to run a competition if you own a gym or if you own a Zero, essentially. So I planted that seed at the start of August in 2021. And by the end of August in 2021, Wes had reached out and basically been like, hey, Manny, what are the next few gym announcements? Because at the time we were getting ready to open Zero Brisbane, that opened in early 2022. And so I'd hinted at some stage that we're opening a new gym soon. And I was like, why do you ask that, man? And he's like, well, I'm worried it's going to be in Cairns. And I'm like, trust me, man, if it's going to be in Cairns, it's going to be with you guys. So planted that seed even further. I couldn't find the tickets of the back and forth that we had. I can't remember. It must have been in phone calls or something like that. But eventually it got to the stage where I was like, look, if you guys are serious, we'd had a few phone calls. If you guys are serious, I'll fly up to Cairns. I'll come check out your studio. You can tell me all about your business. We'll sit down and have a proper chat about the gym stuff. And that's what I did. I flew up there, hung out with them, had a good chat about the gym, went away, and that was the start of it all. So basically that was in August. By November in 2021, we had started the formal process. We'd started setting up the company and talking about how it was all going to work and so on. And then you go straight into ordering equipment. So we started that again, November 2021. We have a minor business partner in Cairns as well, which is Khan Stevenson, who owns Zero Mackay. He's majority shareholder in Zero Mackay outside of me. So he lent his expertise and jumped in as a shareholder in Cairns as well. And so we started that process of organizing, getting the equipment and figuring out how we were going to get it up there, and ran into some cool adventures along the way. So when the time came to find buildings, Cairns was very interesting at the time. So post-COVID, there was a huge demand for trades in northern Queensland, especially out in the mines. And what a lot of people were doing, there was a big drain of trades from those local centres out to mining regions or major housing developments and all of that sort of stuff that came out as a result of COVID. And so the downside of that was that trades in Cairns were ridiculous, like crazy expensive. The rates had gone up by a factor of 3. They were 3 times more expensive than they used to be. And so entering into negotiations with landlords on places, we were running into this issue where most of the places in Cairns were pretty beat up and run down. And normally when you go into lease negotiations, you're negotiating things like, yeah, the terms and the prices and all that sort of stuff. But with a gym, you're going into normally industrial and not set up for gyms. They don't have bathrooms. They typically have like one toilet and 400 square meters. Whereas in a gym, you probably need 4 toilets. You need a couple of showers. You need a little kitchenette area. So trying to get trades to agree to do that sort of stuff, landlords to agree to front the money to fit it out was near impossible. They were just pretty much just like flat out, no, we'll give you a deal, but we're not going to do that. And so we ran into this issue where we had narrowed down to 4 or 5 places. The one that we liked the most was just way too expensive. And the other one that we came very close to getting was willing to do the works, but the place was so old and beat up and run down, and it was just not an ideal look and fit for the gym. And we ended up finding this place on a main road. Like, spoiler alert, this is where the gym ended up. We walked in there to have a look around, and the landlord had essentially set it up for his friend who was a model train collector. And so we walked into the gym as it is now, and it was just full, like, of these massive tables. Think of like double the size of a pool table that was set up as like a little village with a little model train running around it. And honestly, it was fucking cool. Like, I wish the gym was just that, just heaps of model trains, because it was so cool. I'm really into that stuff. But anyway, we walked in, it was just full of model trains. And we learned a little bit about the building and the history of the building in terms of how long has it been empty, was the landlord actually won out of it, entered into negotiations, and I made a ridiculous ask. I don't know if I feel completely comfortable saying what it was on the podcast, but I made a ridiculous ask thinking there is no way they're going to agree to this. And not only did they agree to it, but they did us one better. So I had asked initially I'd asked for them to do the trades and the works. And he said that was too expensive, but I'd floated, I'm pretty sure, in the initial inquiry, the alternative would be that we provide the works, but here's our massive ask, thinking that he would reject that and do the works himself, or would find a middle ground. Instead, he accepted us doing the works and offered a counter offer that was way better than what I asked for, which landlords never do, which is crazy to me that we ended up with that. And it just became an offer that was too good to turn down. So we accepted that and away we went. So essentially what we ended up doing is flying up, not even flying up actually, he drove up with Khan in a car full of Eleiko plates. They loaded up the shit out of Khan's car, drove up from Mackay, which is like an 8-hour drive, with a guy, Braden, who's a legend of a man, who's a key member in Zero Mackay and extremely handy. So he came up and did all of our electrical works, did all the lighting, ran all the wiring for cameras and stereos and everything like that. And we started building the gym in November of 2022. So remember, I said we decided we were going ahead with this in November of 2021. So it took a full year to go through the whole process to end up with a building and get all the equipment. Getting equipment to Cairns is interesting. Like, obviously Cairns is not a major center, and for those of you unfamiliar with the geography of Australia, so a lot of Americans, I'm getting a lot more American listeners, shout out to you guys. A lot of Americans don't realize that Australia is a very similar landmass to America. So like west to east is like a 6-hour flight. It's huge. It's gigantic. And so the east and the west coast are also really big distances. So you think, Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, they're all pretty close together. They're not. There's like 1,000 kilometers between each one of those. And Brisbane is at the bottom of our state, which is Queensland. Cairns is at the top. That's 2,000 kilometers. So it's like a 20-hour drive. And so trucking costs for a full container of equipment plus another full container of all the Eleiko stuff were insane. We ended up figuring out that we could put it all on a train. So we sent up a train, got these containers dropped off. We had to makeshift a container ramp because they didn't drop off a container ramp. So we're driving up these like half broken crates with a forklift with like 2 ton of crates with gym equipment that barely fit in the container. It was a really interesting setup process. For those of you also unfamiliar with Cairns, it's extremely hot and extremely tropical. And when we were setting up, the air conditioning didn't really work. It was like one functional air conditioning unit, and setting up a gym, as you can probably imagine, is not exactly the easiest job in the world. And man, it was muggy and hot and gross in there. That was a gym build that I will never forget in terms of the taxation on the body with the heat. It was horrible. We also had no working toilets, so we had to go next door and use their toilets, which was an interesting adventure as well, being super hot and stinky and sweaty and covered with dust and dirt from laying flooring and all the rest of it. So we went through that adventure. We put it together. We built it. It was very much a big effort, and yeah, I mean, like so Cairns was gym number 5. So I'd built 5 of them by that point, and Khan had built one of them with Mackay, and we had the expertise on the equipment, and like, of course, everyone pitched in and helped, but Khan and I managed to bang out a lot of equipment on our own pretty quickly. I'm pretty proud with how good, like most of the time it was Wes, Brooke, Meg, Khan, I, and Braden in the room. Of course, there were other helpers. Plenty of people came out and helped, and I'm so very grateful for that. Man, we worked hard and we banged it out pretty quickly. I think we got the whole thing done in like 2.5 days. It was a quick build and a good build. So thank you to the team for putting that together. If you ever get the chance to go to Cairns and train at the gym, it is immaculate. They keep it so clean. It's so well laid out. It's got nice air conditioning. It's a really good gym. I'm really stoked with how that one came together. I'm trying to think of if there are any other funny stories or anything that came out of it, but I'm a little bit stumped. That kind of paints the picture on that one. It was, yeah, a really fantastic adventure, and now they're well established up there. They got well over 100 members, and they kill it. Their competitions are fantastic, and I'm so very grateful to have the Cairns team on board and pumping away. They have another staff member these days as well, Ava. Ava kills it up there and is doing a great job. So yeah, that's the story of Zero Cairns. A nice quick one. I hope you enjoyed that one, and I'll talk to you again soon.